Welcome back. Amnesty for Millions, a sweeping guest worker program, and a major offensive against the Mexican cartels. Three key components of Roland Gutierrez's controversial plan to mend our immigration crisis. Rudy, set aside the fact that millions are here without documentation and they broke our law to do so. Isn't Gutierrez's solution really a reproduction of Ronald Reagan's policy?
Some of it. Not quite deja vu all over again, but remember the Reagan plan, that's generally considered a failure. And Gutierrez also seems to be modifying the migrant worker plan that State Representative Eddie Morales shared with us just a few weeks ago, as the issue is. That's why I was considering plagiarism as my word. But what's being pitched to me really seems to be another case of cherry picking, the hyphenated word I chose. He's offering ideas Democrats like, certainly, while dismissing Republican talking points like the border wall and deportation. There's no common ground here being offered, no sense of willingness to reach a real compromise. So his plan, I think, probably was DOA before he even got off the printer. But, you know, he needs a Hail Mary pass right now because according to the most recent poll, Gutierrez is trailing party primary leader Colin Allred 21-10. Greg?
All right, Stephen, let's talk electoral politics here. Gutierrez's proposal may not float well in a general election, but could have some success in a Democratic primary against Colin Allred, who Gutierrez is portraying as a borderline Republican, at least on this topic.
Right, and Gutierrez has to start doing some things that will separate him from the front runner, which is Dallas Congressman Colin Allred. Now, while Gutierrez's plan, like you mentioned, may not have some bipartisan support, it could energize or appease Democrats, primary Democrats, to say, hey, well, at least our candidate has a plan for this border issue and not just totally dismissing it. But on the flip side of this, Colin Allred has said in years past that he supports structures where needed. It's just politics right now of Gutierrez likening that to him supporting Trump, which is furthest from the truth. Ted Cruz has said himself in our Issue Is interview that Colin Allred has voted with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. So it's a stretch to say that Colin Allred is supporting Trump policies, but there is a difference here where you hear Allred saying that there are structures needed in specific places, and Gutierrez saying there needs to be a totally different vision in general.
Okay, Rudy, Gutierrez's plan came out as all hell was breaking loose on the floor of the Texas House over, among other things, a Republican-backed measure that would make it a crime in this state for anyone to transport an undocumented person in their vehicle. Needless to say, the mandatory 10-year sentence attached to it triggered lots of raw anger and emotion from mostly Hispanic lawmakers.
Yeah, the glove certainly came off. Emotional meltdown Wednesday night. It's a good example of why finding a solution is so tough on this hot issue. Conservatives, they're frustrated with the open border policy. Liberals want a free pass, many of them, across the border. So with all the chaos and constant flow of illegal crossings, a hammer like HB 4 that gets filed and passed by the GOP-controlled House, which, you know, it's interesting to note, guys, a House chamber that continues to be called Democrat-controlled by extreme right-wing Paxton supporters. It all makes for a good description of political insanity.
All right, Stephen, back to something Rudy mentioned. The latest UT poll has Allred leading Gutierrez 21-10. But what Rudy didn't tell you was that nearly half of those surveyed are still undecided. What should we make of that?
Well, it's still early, and I know that the primary is months away, but it's still early from this standpoint. While Colin Allred has a larger position, it's still, you know, regionalized because he's in Congress, so he only represents a certain area. Gutierrez and Allred still have to get their names out there. Gutierrez more than Allred, and so that's why you see plans like this to try to get more people talking about Roland Gutierrez.
All right, Rudy, lots of indecision clearly among Democrats. Could this Gutierrez amnesty plan get him within striking distance in the primary where progressives play a big role?
His plan helping him? Doubtful. His one-issue campaign position on gun control? Now, that could give him a bump in the polls considering the horrific mass shooting in Maine. Also, missteps by Allred will help. Things like the congressman recently posting on social media, standing with a Muslim cleric who recently made several anti-Israel statements.
All right, real quickly, guys, do either one of these guys have a chance of getting within striking distance? Yes or no? Rudy?
I think it's still uphill.
Rudy?
Well, to quote a Justin Bieber song, never say never.
Okay, that's a wrap for now. You can see this week's interview and any of our past interviews by going to our YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going by interacting with us on our social media pages.
And special session 1, 2, 3, winding down with, will a school choice plan make it to the governor? Will the Texas GOP civil war intensify? Some big questions, so stay tuned and don't forget to let us know what you think the issue is.